shakeleti love. See love when I wanna get another one, I go take and do waiting I love, waiting you love, oh. No be waiting I love, oh. Waiting I love, I go do what we done my heart, oh. Go no be vodka, Mr. Money Changer, but when I know the ways that Mr.
You let a yum 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 yum. Na yela pere matina yela pese. You let a yum 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 yum. Na yela pere muna kapela chora kakisa we are yela pere balungna baire tupa ani aingting tuna asanta tapage bayu tugtele masankele yura baba tugara we are yela pere bongna baire tupa ani asikul jatuna ikina kine kille sikul jakine titatia undidle sikul jatia satasua zadle sikul gasua korakua kole sikul gakua sarasua sole sikul gasua tinayela peri chora kakisa we hari hala peri bongna baire tupa ani sikul gatuma tupa ani sikul gatuma.
That dream of studying and working abroad has been made much accessible to everyone, including you. So worry less about how you're going to get there, because we always make it happen. This is Staff Finders Ghana Limited. We offer a highly professional guidance and support system, both in your university and visa application process. Staff Finders Ghana Limited is a highly trusted agency of the University of the West of Scotland, one of the largest modern universities offering a range of academic, social, and sporting facilities. You can apply for undergraduate, masters and PhD in business and creative industries, education, social sciences, computing, engineering, physical sciences, health, and life sciences. Come through Staff Finders, and for your studies, you get yourself a laptop or a £500 gift voucher. Call on +233 598 4888 04. WhatsApp on +44 7404 711 049. Send us an email or visit our website for more information.
Love when I wanna get another one, I go take and do waiting I love, waiting you love, oh. No be waiting I love, oh. Waiting I love, I go do what we done my heart, oh. Go no be vodka, Mr. Money Changer, but when I know the ways that Mr. I want to hear waiting people they love, what you get a shakeleti love. See love when I wanna get another one, I go take and do waiting I love, waiting you love, oh. No be waiting I love, oh. Waiting I love, I go do what we done my heart, oh. Go no be vodka, Mr. Money Changer, but when I know the ways that Mr. I want to hear waiting people they love, what you get a shakeleti love. See love when I wanna get another one, I go take and do waiting I love, waiting you love, be waiting I love, oh. Waiting I love, I go do what we done my heart, oh. Go no be vodka, Mr. Money Changer, but when I know the ways that Mr. I want to hear waiting people they love, what you get a shakeleti love. See love when I wanna get another one, I go take and do waiting I love, waiting you love, oh. No be waiting I love, oh. Waiting I love, I go do what we done my heart, oh. Go no be vodka, Mr. Money Changer, but when I know the ways that Mr. I want to hear waiting people they love, what you get a shakeleti love. See love when I wanna get another one, I go take and do waiting I love, waiting you love, oh. No be waiting I
Well, it's yet another Saturday afternoon here in the United States, and I believe it's around 6 p.m. in Ghana. And we bring you another edition of Political Justice. I would say the diaspora is not an escape; it's a satellite office. We have a bird's eye view of our dear country, Ghana, and so we are able to objectively observe things and give an objective analysis, and most of the time, proffer solutions to many of the problems that we constantly observe happening day in, day out. So today, and I mean, in fact, our goal here usually is to bring you guys an analysis of the serious topical political issues that have transpired in the course of the week. And so today we bring you three important, conversations that are ongoing in Ghana. The very spicy exchanges between the sitting president and the former president with respect to legacy. We will delve into that conversation. We'll look at the voter registration exercise, how far it's gone so far, and also look at it more broadly in terms of the role of the EC and their activities leading up to the election in December. And then finally, we'll talk about Dr. Baumia and his basket of promises. Should he still be making promises at this point? This is a subject that we will delve into. And there are some issues surrounding the Bank of Ghana. I think there was a public accounts hearing in Parliament, and there were some revelations with respect to certain projects that are believed to not have been completed yet. Payments were done to the contractors, so we'll delve into that as well. But before we go into the topics, I would introduce you to my panelists. I have Dr. Zita Seshi, who is a sociologist out in Canada. Dr. Neil Okine, he's an assistant professor of actuarial science, Appalachian State University in North Carolina. Welcome, panelists.
Hi, it's good to see you all. Nee, you are quite in the dark today. What's going on?
Maybe Doomsaw visited me today.
Did Doomsaw really visit you, or maybe?
No, I'm in another room.
Okay.
Yeah, that room is not as.
He doesn't want to disturb him.
If you can see from my glasses, I have a huge ring light. I have a huge ring light, so I'm always struggling through the show because my vision. But yeah, I totally understand. Sometimes you need to be in a place where lighting might not be the best. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I mean, let's go into our first topic here. as I mentioned earlier on, we're going to talk about the exchanges that have happened in the political space between former President Mahama and the sitting president about legacy. I have a video here that I will play, and then it would lead us into the conversation. So our producer can play our first video for us if he's here. Okay.
Addressing supporters at the mini rally in Dobro in the Greater Accra region following a visit to the premises of Blue Skies Limited, President Akufo-Addo emphasized his endorsement of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia as the preferred candidate for the presidency.
I cannot hand over to someone who isn't pleased by anything I do. He will just come and destroy what I have built. So I am pleading with you to vote for a trustworthy person with whom I have worked for 7 years. He goes by the name Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
The friend of Mahamudu Bawumia. Yeah, what about the Dima there? What about the Dima there? Minabaso Yakupon Samunia.
Okay, so Akufo-Addo says he's not going to leave his legacy for somebody he beat in the previous election. What's the legacy? I will start with you, Zita. What's this legacy that Nana is talking about?
I mean, when I was preparing for today's discussion, I tried to understand Nanado, His Excellency Nanado's legacy. And I chanced on 2 videos that date back to 7 years ago, one by Ghana Web and one by CTFM. And in his speech, Nanado made concrete promises such as the free SHS policy. He talked about reviving the National Health Insurance Scheme. He talked about 1 district, 1 factory. He said 1 village, 1 dam, Zongo Development Fund, 1 million, 1 constituency. And I am here like, is it because I'm in Canada? I'm here like, where are these? Because that is his legacy. Those were the things he promised Ghanaians, and we voted for him. So where are the manifestations of these promises, and how is he measuring legacy? Because the only thing he has to his credit is the free SHS, and that is currently, damaged by lack of funds, lack of planning, poor quality of education. Recently, the Joy FM News, I think 2 weeks ago, reported on the quality of Ghana's education, and Ghana's education was ranking 125 out of 189 countries or so.
You don't mean it.
Oh, it is. It was a recent report. I had to share that on my TikTok live when I talked about people not understanding my perspective because of Ghana's education system is porous, so comprehension is a problem. I had to sign. It was the report was actually released on my birthday, which is April 27th or 28th. So just a few weeks back, and the quality of Ghana's education is bad. And so I'm trying to understand our president's understanding of legacy in this context, because the only thing that we can credit him for, based on my knowledge and assessment, is the free SHS, and that policy have failed woefully. Is it the big hole somewhere in Accra where he promised God? This is a president who promised God a cathedral, and he had 8 years to deliver, and he can't even add that to his roster of what legacy. So when he talks about I do not want former President Mahama to taint my legacy. My question to His Excellency is, please, what legacy are you referring to? And I'm taking you back to your campaign promises, where you told us that you're going to give us free SHS, where you told us that you give us 1 village, 1 dam, where you told us that 1 district, 1 factory, where you told us about the Zongo Development Fund, where you talk about reviving the National Health Insurance Policy. I know it is still the paracetamol insurance policy in Ghana. So what legacy is he talking about? I am still struggling to understand that.
Well, I think there's a famous saying that Nkrumah never dies. And I guess why people say Nkrumah never dies is because of maybe his legacy. Um, is legacy that fluid to the point where it can easily be washed away by another person? Ni, what's your take on Akufo-Addo insisting that he doesn't want Mahama to wipe away his legacy by handing over to him?
Before Nee comes in, I just want to say that legacy exceeds you. Legacy is something that you'll be remembered for before your time. And that is what makes Nkrumah an amazing former leader. You know, Dakoso even I was born and raised in Tema. Even the way Tema is structured, Tema was structured in the way like abroad, the way the foreign countries are structured. We have streets and then we have street names, and just, you know, the hub, just silos in Tema where they could, because they had a lot of industries in Tema, so there were silos where they could keep stuff. My point is legacy outlives you, such that 100 years from now you will be remembered. So the question for our president is, 100 years from now, what would posterity remember him for? Nee, I'm sorry for having to chip that in.
Yeah, but even that, I mean, I just wanted to add that isn't it even an oxymoron to say that someone will wipe away your legacy? Isn't the name legacy essentially about something that would outlive time, pretty much? So I need you can jump in here, I guess. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, if you listen to Mohammed's response, and I'm on his Twitter account right now.
Okay,
And
you can read it out to us.
yeah, let me just go. He said, "Of course, I will not protect your legacy of corruption, misgovernance, arrogance, ineptitude, bankrupt economy, increased unemployment, and pushing more of our people into the poverty bracket." You read these tweets, and I do not see any lie. Right. So let's take it one after the other. Corruption. If you look at the SML case, right, the one that the president ordered whatever an investigation by KPMG. The report was given to them, and they do not want to release the report even after an RTI whatever right to information inquiry. He said he's not releasing the document. What are you hiding, right? So the levels of corruption in this government is so shocking, and we've had other, you know, corrupt attempts like the Japadeo, right, trying to mortgage our future earnings in such a corrupt deal. So the corruption we are seeing, and that's why people like what's this guy's name, uh, Captain Smart, and other people have come out to apologize to JM, because what they thought was wrong under JM is tenfold under this government, and the corruption is way too much. So yes, this government is corrupt, and also misgovernance. Now, I think Imani came out with this data, and let me read. It says abuse of public procurement acts by public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions cost the country 1 billion Ghana cedis between 2010 and 2020. The highest procurement irregularities by public boards, corporation, and other statutory institutions were recorded in election years. So they gave the breakdown: 2012, 59 million, 2016, 59 million. Guess what? Can you guess what the 2020 irregularities are? Can you guess? Just give me a number.
What was the previous one?
Yeah, 2020. The 2020
the previous
yeah, so they gave the numbers for 3 years: 2012, 2016. 2012 and 2016 were around 59 million cedis. In 2020 alone, it was 850 million Ghana cedis.
Okay.
From 50 million or 850 in 2020. So only you, the irregularities and corruption using the public procurement. Only this government in 2020 alone is more than 10 folds. What is it? 10? 800 divided by 500.
Yeah,
My math is not mathing today. It's crazy.
you're
So
the maths person.
almost 16 folds, right?
Yeah.
And that President John Mahama is talking about this, and I mean that is the truth, right? And the third one, arrogance. What have we not heard? This president ordering chiefs around, stand up and greet me, stand up and do this. He was the one bathing in the air. If you remember, we were telling this guy, stop bathing in the air. He was bathing in the air, that arrogance. You have, he went to the Ewe people, the voter region, and told them you didn't vote for me, so you deserve whatever you got. I'm not going to help you. Like, this is a guy who he's kind of setting a bad precedent when it comes to the way, like the arrogance, and because of that, it's also, we've seen the effects to his ministers. You see this health is it health is it the energy minister telling people they should bring their own Dunso timetable. This is something that we need for people to plan their life, but because of the arrogance, and the arrogance comes from the president. Can you imagine if the president is not arrogant and a person like the minister says something like that? What will happen? Somebody needs to, he will go. But because the president endorses such acts, nothing has happened to that guy. There was no statement, no apologies, and they even keep on they are doubling down on it, right? Telling us there's no doomsaw. Meanwhile, there's doomsaw, right? So the gaslighting, the arrogance is there. In the ineptitude, let's look at DDEP. I didn't know when if you're an economics or a finance student, they tell you government bonds and treasury bonds are risk free. Hey, this year I realized that it's not risk free because guess what? Akufo-Addo gave a haircut on this investment. People do not have their pensions now because of their inactions and corrupt actions. So yes, this government have failed us. Bankrupt economy. We cannot pay our external debt. And even the dollar is at 15 now. Even when we are not paying our external debt, people forget that. That is really, I don't want to say, but that is interesting. We are not paying our external debt, and dollar is now 15, $1 to 15 cedis. So when we start paying our external debt, it's going to be unimaginable. I don't know. So what is happening is not normal. And this is an election year. What is happening is not normal. We're not paying an external debt, and the dollar is, the city is still depreciating. So again, what Mahama said is true. They've bankrupted the economy. We went to IMF thinking that it will help us. Nothing did. It didn't help. They introduced e-levy, which we all know is against the idea of promoting a cashless economy. It still didn't help, right? So it's true. They've bankrupted the economy and increased unemployment and poverty levels. We've heard report that a lot of Ghanaian citizens are now in the below poverty line. And that is because of all this corruption and the misgovernance and all that's going on under this government.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. For me.
So in a nutshell, Nee
yeah.
is saying that Nanado's government, the legacy is corruption, mismanagement, arrogance, economic failure. Those are the legacy.
Yes, and that's what Mama is saying. I'm not going to continue that. And I wouldn't want Mahama to continue this thing, because if even Mahama himself come, and the thing is, people bash Mahama for petty corruptions and stuff like that, and it's now 16 folds a year. Dollar is now 15. Petrol is now for almost 5 times. So what they were criticizing Mahama for and the doomsaw, which is now back because of, again, their misgovernance. There was a fund dedicated for paying, levies dedicated for paying debt in the energy sector, and they've mortgaged that for other things, right? So again, that comes to the misgovernance. So I don't think, trust me, free SHS was a good policy, but the problems going on in that free SHS, and again, it comes to the arrogance. They are so arrogant. They don't want us to talk about the policy to improve the policy, right? So again, I don't want Mahama to continue any of these guys' policies or legacy, uh, whatever
So
he thinks.
are you guys suggesting that Akufo-Addo will be in the race when there is a debate about the worst president in the history of Ghana? Is he going to be in a running if there's ever a conversation of that sort?
Of course. I mean, that's without a doubt. Are you listening to the sentiment on? I mean, that is without a doubt. You listen to the sentiment on social media and across platforms, and he makes an interesting juxtaposition. You see, everybody was criticizing Mahama until we experienced the Akufo-Addo's government, and so it's a mirror. It's a sharp contrast, and even members of the MPP government, some of them who are open, some of them who try to be objective, have realized that Nana Addo's government is a total failure and a total disappointment to Ghanaians. And so, I mean, if we talk about the worst president, and I'm glad he mentioned legacy, so we can, really look at what he's done. And the legacy debate is what Ni has done. Ni has broken it down. Legacy of corruption, legacy of economic mismanagement, legacy of arrogance, where his so-called energy minister Napo is telling people, bring us a schedule because we don't have doom. So, I mean, you look at the entire MPP landscape, and it's like they have this level of arrogance and gross disrespect for the electorates and the citizens of Ghana. So if we're going to judge Nana Addo based on his works, definitely one of the worst presidents we've ever experienced in Ghana. And that is not because we are being partisan. That is because we are measuring him based on his works and his deeds.
Yeah. I mean, just, anecdotally, if you look at the record number of NDC members that have either defected or forced to come out and say unpalatable things about their government, it's amazing. I've never seen it in Ghana's political space before. To the extent that unless the MPP members that appear on TV to defend the government, when you engage offline with people who are diehard MPP supporters, they themselves can hardly find anything good to say about Nana Akufo-Addo's government. So, I mean, if we just want to use that anecdotal evidence, I think, that conclusion would be justified. And for me, with this administration, what completely broke my heart was the passing of e-levy. I mean, here we are thinking that, the electronic levy had come to solve a lot of problems because we had a lot of market women who would travel from up north to places like Tichima and Kumasi, and there were a lot of highway robberies. And with the introduction of mobile money, that ceased because they would have the money on their accounts. And when they get to the market, they can immediately get access to it right away and buy whatever goods they were buying. And then to have such a retrogressive policy that imposed, and I call e-levy literally someone picking your pockets. There's no transaction that has happened, but the fact that you are transferring money from one medium to another, you are charged a fee. That was completely absurd to me. In fact, that completely broke my heart in terms of just thinking about the many women that are struggling to make ends meet by traveling from one end of the country to the other to engage in trading that usually doesn't bring a lot of returns. It's just to keep their families together. And another heartbreaking thing that this government did was the debt exchange that left a lot of pensioners picketing, such that the former Chief Justice had to join them in solidarity. I mean, you work all your life and save thinking that you're going to retire in peace, only for an incompetent government to turn your life upside down. I mean, a lot of them died in frustration because they couldn't get themselves to go begging for. I mean, because you plan your life. It's not like you didn't plan it. And then it turns out that the government of the day didn't really protect you. So for me, I mean, and there's just a long list. We can talk about press freedom. A lot of good journalists were run out of the country. Manasseh had to find shelter elsewhere in the world. And I always say the media is completely dead now. There's no longer press in Ghana. So if we're going to remember Nana Akufo-Addo, these are the things that we're going to remember him for. So it's interesting that he decided to put himself in the spotlight, But anyways, so let's move on. And just, I mean, okay, in fact, there's a video. Let me play it, and we can just.
In the time of Mills and Mahama, 2 CDs, $1. If I was them, I would say to the people of Ghana, I'm sorry. We are sorry for the poor work we have done. We're going to go and think about ourselves. But that is not the people we're dealing with. The fruits of office, the money under the table has become sweet for them. So they're determined to stay. Are we going to allow that to happen? Are we going to allow that to happen?
Again, I always say that we live in
the former president John Dramani Mahama.
I would say we live in an age where the receipts are always available. This is Akufo-Addo prior to the 2016 election, I guess, talking about the exchange rate. What is the exchange rate now? Maybe you know what's the exchange rate now compared to what it was when these guys took over power. So that is one of the legacies that they're leaving behind.
Yes, and for me, the truth is, I'm of the opinion that no African country can solve the exchange rate problem on its own. That's my personal opinion. But what angered me is that this fraud of Baumia knows that our whatever what was his the fundamentals is wrong, the exchange rate will expose you. You've been given 7 years, 7 good years, and all we've seen is this problem getting worse. And the truth is, the way the African system and most of the African countries, the way it's set up, our fundamentals are not good. So that is why we need to come together as African countries. Even if you look at the economics, it's a demand and supply thing, right? And you look at a country like US, they have the numbers. You look at other like the current currencies doing well, like the pounds and stuff like that. They have the numbers, right? So we need to come together as African countries. Even if it's just for the currency, we have to do that. Okay, if we are not doing that, then we need very good measures to delay or slow down the depreciation. And they've not done that. They've gotten it wrong. So at the end of the day, I'm like, what you were asking people 170 questions or 169, whatever the number is, when he was VP.
Yeah.
Asking, every day having a seminar on arresting the CD and whatever. And you remember that their press conference, we have the men and they were mentioning their names. And today here we are. Petrol is now the price of petrol when Mahama was there. A gallon is now equal to a liter today. The price. So you wonder, okay, what at all do these guys have to solve these economic challenges? They do not have anything to offer. and we are seeing it. The dollar 15 from 4 to 15.
Yeah.
It's so sad, right? It's so sad. And this was the guy running around preaching and lecturing to anybody who will listen. Today, he doesn't want to talk about economy. All he talks about is church, going to church and telling them that he's not going to tax the church. Looking for here and there.
You are taking the wind out of the sail here.
That guy really, sometimes I'm like, is he okay? Are you okay? You are our economic whiskey, his wife said. Economic whiskey. Now you're campaigning. You cannot even.
We'll come to Baumia. So don't just reserve some of that energy for him.
Me? I mean, I was a bit under the weather due to lack of sleep, but your enthusiasm is just sending me into a coma of laughter. I mean, it's I was just looking at the exchange rate, and people will always say, people always accuse those of us abroad, is like, oh, you people abroad are always commenting on Ghanaian issues. We feel it because, like, listen, I'm going to use something that happened to me in 2022. 2022, my father died. We have prepared for the funeral. Ni and Ghana, we got to Ghana for the funeral, and the budget for food skyrocketed from 20,000 to 30,000. The lady said, oh, fish is now expensive. Meat is, I'm like, are you kidding me? And it was 1 week. And so when we are talking here, we feel it in our pocket. So everything is now expensive. And it was 2022 December. Like, we had to spend more just doing certain things like, refreshment and food, because prices were so much. And that, I think during December 2020, the dollar just went way high. And so if he says the fundamentals are wrong, the exchange rate will expose you, then Baumia has been exposed, because we are struggling and the dollar dictates everything. Everything, access to everything becomes expensive, especially for the everyday ordinary Ghanaian who is like accessing food. Food became so expensive to buy, and they claimed they were trying to help, and they it was just a bunch of rotten plantain in Accra, saying that, oh, they're trying to help with the economy post the COVID. And I don't know which minister shipped a plantain from which rural area to Makola. I remember, and it was just all rotten because market women were hoarding.
When they were selling the plantain at the ministry, I think there was a time they were selling stuff at the Ministry of Agriculture, right?
Yes, that is how horrible the economy was in around 20. It was so bad that they were selling, foodstuffs.
Don't speak in past tense.
I mean, that's why I said my experience, though. You see, that's why when I prefixed my experience when I was in Ghana, this is what happened to me. And it was because of this high exchange rate that they could not arrest the dollar. And so we were suffering, and that could be the reality of people now. But because I'm not in the country now, I need to, tread cautiously. But, it's just a mess. It's just a mess. So,
Agana, I saw this tweet and it was so profound, right? Let me quote it. It said, imagine if Mahama had left the country bankrupt. That is, we are not paying debt. We are not paying our pensions. For 2 years, introducing DDEP, printing 77 billion. This guy's printed 77 billion, the Bank of Ghana, 77 billion to pay their things and cause inflation in return. Dollar is now 15 Ghana cedis. Inflation 54%. 15 Ghana cedis per liter. Unemployment 14. Cocoa board make no profit for 7 years. Yet they receive the largest revenue. Imagine if this was Mahama. So sometimes I don't know whether is it a tribal thing. I just don't understand what's going on, because I'm sure if Mahama was the president now, we'll be having riots all over the place, because of course it's Mahama. So I don't know whether on average people like, I don't know what is going on, because the numbers is unheard of, right? It's like, okay, and these people even get audacity to go and campaign. Like, I'm like, there has to be some law somewhere that when you perform this bad, you know, you don't even get to contest. Because I'm like, what are they doing?
Yeah, I have a theory.
Yes, please.
I think they have eggs all over their faces, and so they are afraid to go out in public with their soiled faces.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, because
Me,
these were
me is so passionate at this point, and me doesn't. But me, you make a valid point. The key question would does the ordinary Ghanaian really see the statistics? Do they really understand the statistics that you're talking about? Because what Nee's saying is that the ordinary Ghanaian is not enraged enough. You know, we are not enraged enough to demonstrate or whatever processes
no,
we
but
can.
it's even more about the opinion and thought leaders, people who have historically complained, and their complaint, attracted so much coverage that
Well, you
it
know,
sets the tone, right, for the outrage of the entire country. But we no longer hear from such quarters.
and you know
That,
that the
that's
hypocrisy.
it.
Somebody like Kwame Sefakai. There was one famous interview. He said Mahama had two problems. They begin with D. One is dollar, one is doomsaw. And today, dollar is raining in the sky. Doomsaw is whatever. So these guys sit down and they are like, I'm quiet now because I don't know what's going on with them. You know, the hypocrisy in some of this media, man. And I know, of course, this government also, you know, they've put in some measures to kind of clamp down on the media freedom and stuff like that. But come on,
Yeah.
we can do better than what they are doing now.
Individuals that I say have X all over their faces, and so might not want to appear in public because of that. So, but that's what we're talking about here. It's not. I think the ordinary Ghanaians are venting about happenings and conditions in Ghana, but we want to hear from the opinion leaders, the people whose quote unquote opinions matter in our country. And it's still continuing in that direction. I have another video here, and this is with respect to the Bank of Ghana. Let's hear what went on here, and then talk about it.
Page 23. Somewhere you will see final payment for construction of the Kwalago irrigation project. Yes. Kwalago irrigation project, final payment. 2-3. At the top there, you see the last but one. Final payment for the construction of the Kwalago irrigation project. The question is, I thought probably before payments are made, contractors present certificates. Because when you get to Kwalago, there's nothing there. There's no even a pole. There's no even a signboard. And if the contractor is taking $11 million, there's nothing. There is no even a what do we call it? Like a container. You can't even see the project site. So what certificate was presented before this money was paid? That's my question. Oh, the sun there was at all. There's not even sun on the site. You can't even identify the site.
Let
No,
him,
no, he
let
will
him,
answer. So
let him
I
answer.
want to know how that money was
Final
paid.
yes, he will answer.
I think the amount you're referring to was paid in 2021, not 2022. And the auditors would have to tell us because they must have cited their documentations before they wrote this report. The Auditor General, yeah, so maybe they can explain.
Before then, if assuming that it was something like a mobilization, but if you say final, okay. No. It's a final payment, okay.
Can we, is auditors, could you help us out over here? It says final payment. Now the honorable member is saying that there's nothing at that site. I'm sure when you did the audit, you saw something.
Honorable Chair,
controller instructed them to pay, and they paid. We are not aware whether the project has been completed or there's nothing ongoing.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, I'm not happy with the response from the auditors.
Okay. 1 second. All right. So this is the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. And of course, I mean, the video explains itself. I don't know the auditing process and whether the auditors are supposed to ensure that, or as part of the auditing process, are supposed to make sure that the money paid, work was actually done for that. That is something that I don't know. But these are MPs who are from the area, and they say there's nothing on the ground to show for the amount that has been paid to the contractor. And I want to believe that if work was actually done, they would have actually seen the work at the time that it was going on. So if it was even the situation that it was shoddy work done, but some amount of work had been done, I think they would have been aware of it. But what may have ignited this question is because of the fact that they know that on the ground, work hasn't been done yet. $11 million has been paid. So again, we are still listing Akufo-Addo's long list of legacies. I don't know what you guys think of this story, but yeah, but it's the Bank of Ghana, and then there's another story about them that we come to again.
Yeah. So I'm someone that I don't use just 1-2 examples to judge people. I always look at the trend. What we are seeing here is the trend. These guys paid, how much did they pay for that pit, the cathedral pit? 50 something million. They paid a lot of money for no work done. So this one for me follows the trend. It's what they do, just trying to waste a means and to loot public. And I feel, of course, a lot of rich people have been made by this government. A lot of families will not see poverty, but they are few. Most Ghanaians are poor because these few people have stolen all the money. And the thing is, it will come back to hurt everybody. Because if you try and create and loot and share, at the end of the day, it's just a handful, 10, 20 people, 10 families, 20 families, and that's it. What about the rest of Ghanaians? We just wasting resources, not doing what we are supposed to do. Dirty, lazy politics, not thinking about the common man. Like at the end of the day, politics should concern the average. If you're a president and you come and the average level of your citizens have not improved, you should know you failed. So they failed. They don't have any legacy. They don't.
Okay. Yeah, Zita, if you do you want to have?
I mean, Ni has said it all. It's a trend. I mean, the ghost projects. It's interesting that in 2024, Ghana's democracy is supposed to have matured to the stage that we are sitting here having a discussion about projects that have not been completed. It is beating my mind how we in this current dispensation we can have that. This is troubling. We shouldn't be having ghost projects. I mean, at this stage of our democracy, we need to have at least semi-independent and strong institutions. And it's about the lack of accountability in it all. They can't respond. How comes a contractor is paid $11 million and there is no sand on site and people are getting away with it? And this now raises the question of how people will do anything to get into politics, because the youth are watching this. And we are telling the youth that the quickest way to become rich is to get into politics. That's how people are doing all sorts, lying their way to enter politics. This is disturbing. in this current dispensation, we have ghost projects in Ghana. Oh, come on. $11 million. And again, Nee said it all, is a trend with this particular government. And we are going to come on the Cecilia Dapasity way. It's a trend where there's zero accountability and zero probity. And even if there's probity, they don't want to release information.
Yeah, and then there's a story here.
And Ghana, before you go on,
Yes.
that guy, that governor, he's one of the people I'm looking forward to Mahama really bringing a case against. I believe he's broken some laws. Printing that much money should be against some law. I know. So, I mean, some of the people like Akufo, those people, maybe they are big people and because of politics. But somebody like the government, nobody voted for him. They should go after him. Because how can you sit down and print all this money for what? Just waste corruption and stuff. Why do they do that? Destroying the economy now. Inflation is way up there, so he's one of the guys I'm really looking forward to they bringing some case against when they come to power. You cannot even account a whole governor. You don't have a team, or yourself and your team. You cannot say why you made a payment for such thing, a whole governor.
You're on mute. Honorable Chairman, you're on mute.
All right, thanks. Yeah, so there's a story about the Bank of Ghana that I would read a little bit of it. I won't read the entire thing, but it speaks to the issues that Ani is raising. Where is the money going to? And it says, I think the headline is the average Bank of Ghana staff. The average Bank of Ghana staff owes employer about 566,000 Ghana cedi. And apparently, the Bank of Ghana gives out loans to its employees. And when I had read the story earlier on, it's Togwe Afede who raised this concern about how much money the Bank of Ghana is spending on its employees by way of loans. I don't know if these are interest-free loans but he was actually, I think he was speaking at an event in the UK where he compared the practice in the Bank of Ghana to the British Bank, or I don't know what's their central bank called, whatever it is. And he compared how much money is spent on employees in Ghana and how much is spent on employees in the UK. And it's insane. I don't know, time may not permit us, but I could have gone into it. But it's a ridiculous amount. And perhaps this is where some of the money is going to, overcompensating employees. There are certain institutions in Ghana that everyone wants to work in, and Bank of Ghana is one of those places that when somebody gets employment there, they think they've won the lottery. So again, I mean, maybe it speaks to the broader issues about how people are compensated, and there's conversation about the Article 72 employees of government and all that, ex gratia and all that. But the level of inequality is just staggering. And all these, I mean, it just creates room for some people to loot public funds and not be held to account for them. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic here. Let me see. I wanted us to talk about the voter registration exercise. There is an ongoing voter registration exercise for young folks that Ghanaians that have recently, made it into the franchise. They are now of the voting age, and so there's a registration exercise that is going on. So, Zita, I would like us to talk about that. And I don't know if Nee is with us right now, but So, I mean, the registration exercise began, I think it began well. And in the first day, there was problems with the equipment, right? The EC network was down. Some people felt that they could have gone offline and registered people. And now I think they are doing so, but there's also conversation that registering people offline there can be avenues for illegal activity to take place, for them to register people who are not qualified to register. I honestly cannot tell which way to go with it. I don't know if there are genuine concerns with the fact that there are offline registrations, just because of the fact that historically we've done so online, offline, we've registered people offline. So if you are unable to register while the internet is working, knowing the realities of internet service in our country, I don't know if that's a really genuine issue to raise. But I don't know what you guys' observation is so far with the registration exercise going on. But yeah, what do you guys think?
I believe those are genuine concerns. I mean, again, preparing for the discussion today, there were issues with the first day. They were talking about system malfunction, network issue, technical issues, and registering offline. I think, to me, it poses a problem simply because Ghana does not have that system. Here, even when you're doing something online and they want to verify, you just take a picture of your driver's license or whatever identity you have, you give them a couple of minutes, they will verify your identity, right? Does Ghana have that system? Because we can't say people should be registering online when we don't have a system to really verify if this person is who they are. The systems in the West allow whatever you gotta do, you do it online. They want verification. They will tell you, any passport, driver's license, take the picture in front, behind, and they would take a few minutes and they'll verify to ensure that you're who you are. So for me, yes, offline there could be issues. For me, my problem with this whole process is, why are people being bussed and why is there food? In Menchia, there was food. Why are people being bussed? I mean, of
What do you
course.
mean? There was what, food?
Yes.
Like, what do you mean? They were giving people food, or
There's a 45 minutes Joy FM report, and they were at a center in Ashanti region, Menchia South, and they talked about the journalist was interviewing people, and one lady who had finished going through said, "Oh," and they said we should wait for food. I said, wait for food? Why?
Who was serving the food? Who sponsored that food?
Yes, and so that raised concern. I don't know why the journalist. I'm sorry to say, but I always say this, and I have friends who are journalists in Ghana. I have friends, people I went to school with, I respect and love, but I just feel like most of them are not critical enough, because I would have expected the journalist who was interviewing the lady to ask that, "Oh, who is the food coming from?" And he didn't follow up. But the lady was, talking about the importance of, because she's apparently 21 and she said she wasn't going to vote, but this opportunity presents itself for her to get her, voter's ID. And so there were issues of busing, that there are people are being bused from location. I mean, we can understand transportation is good, but my question is, my panelist, is this being done to kind of incite or appease or score some point with the people being bussed? And why are they trying to even share food? I mean, if you say water, sachet of water is there for people to pick, I can understand, because the weather is hard, people are there for hours and they're in a queue. So, water, you can pick water. But the lady specifically said food, and I can definitely send you a link of that interview after this discussion for our staff. So for me, those are the key issues that I want us to address, and if it is influencing. Also, they refer to Ghana card being the key point of identity that is making the process go faster. So my thing is, if Ghana card is needed to register, what about people who do not have their Ghana card? How are they able to prove identity? to register. Of course, a passport and other things, but there was an indication from what I heard based on the news report I watched online was that if you had the Ghana card, it was easier for you to go through that process. So for me, these are the key issues. I believe online poses a problem because Ghana doesn't have a system to verify people's identity. So online voting, online registration, I'm a bit skeptical. Why are people being bussed? Is this busing of people in certain constituencies, especially in the Ashanti region, meant to, influence, the people going to get their, electoral card? And finally, the issue of Ghana card, is that the quickest way to get people through? Those are my issues.
Yeah, Boston, I don't know, but I don't know students that maybe politicians are passing to their constituencies because every politician would want to maximize their role with their supporters. So I think this has happened in the past where politicians would pass students from their schools to their homes or their home constituencies to register. I don't know if that
Is it fair? Like, is it done across board or
well,
specific?
most of the politicians do it. They try to get ways of enticing electorates that they feel are more likely to vote for them to register. And I honestly don't see anything wrong with trying to really get your base or people that you feel are more sympathetic towards you to get registered to vote. I don't. But if it's about basically switching electorates from one place to another, then that would be problematic. But if it's just trying to say that, okay, I know that there are these students who are from my constituency, but they go to school perhaps in another location, and their students maybe they are not going to be incentivized enough to pay for their own transport back home to register. Then as a politician, you decide to pay for their transport to get them home to register. I think it's something that has happened, and I don't really see anything wrong with it. But yeah. But what are your observations with respect to what has gone on so far? Any cause for alarm, by any political party?
Yeah, for me, I don't really have a problem with the basin. Only the only thing I didn't like was some I don't know if the reports are true, but they are basin minus, and that's not right. So what I want to say, though, the NDC should be careful. Uh, going, I like data.
Yeah.
Going by the Global Info Analytics, their poll said for first time voters, 55% intend to vote for Mahama and 25 for Baumia. So it looks like MPP have seen the data and trying to, skew the thing a little bit in their favor, passing minus here and there. But so all I'm saying is it's politics. Sometimes politics can get dirty. Uh, but NDC should be careful. They don't allow too much of this dirty game to go against them. I know some will go against them, but they should be very vigilant and all that. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's a game of politics. Yeah.
Yeah. It would make a lot of sense for MPP to want to suppress
Yeah.
the registration exercise because these are, people who have just recently become adults. Now, you look at the average 18-year-old, right? If somebody's 18 today, maybe they were like 11 when Nana came into office. And having experienced the hardship throughout their teenage years, right into adulthood, it won't really make sense for them to want to maintain this government. Because at the time when they themselves are now beginning to pay for stuff, that's when things are really tough. So it'll be unimaginable to think that an 18-year-old, of course, we're not saying it's going to be 100% for the NDC, but it won't make a lot of sense for an 18-year-old going into the election to want to vote for the ruling government just by virtue of what they have experienced in their own lives with respect to, being ushered into adulthood and being met with, the
Yeah.
real life. You understand? So I,
Yeah, but
yeah,
Chairman,
so,
one thing in Ghana, sometimes 18-year-old, 19-year, 29, 21-year-old, they vote based on what the family is saying. So
Exactly.
no,
people
I
come
mean,
from.
I don't
I've
think this
seen,
generation. I think this generation is an entirely different breed.
I think it still affects they go by what the family say.
Look, to be honest with you, I think when we were growing up, we were pretty much content with what our parents gave us. We The internet didn't exist in the way that it exists today. We weren't attracted to a lot of material stuff out there. There was nothing like an iPhone, or I mean, once you had enough to eat and perhaps had a nice t-shirt and good pair of shoes, you were content. But it's no longer the case. The kids are on the internet, they watch Instagram stories and they see people living large elsewhere in the world. People within their age brackets are buying things that their present economic condition cannot afford. So they actually, I think the current generation, they try to make money on their own quicker than we actually attempted. And so they are met with that reality. So I would imagine that these guys becoming adults and going into the election, I wouldn't think that they would take what their parents would say. I think that they go in with a with a
I disagree. I disagree, and it's
no.
because of yes, because it's because of this quick money. You
Mhm.
can do it. That makes them impressionable and easily persuaded.
Yeah.
And so you see that for people who are supporting Cheddar and his ostentatious, unrealistic goal, it's this younger one because they are carried away because he shows these kind of luxuries and he has this nice hotel in Accra that shows that oh you can have that and I do to a large extent agree with me in the sense that in in the report that I watched online, they had in Menchia, they had representatives of the Free SHS Graduate Association
Mhm.
wearing a Baumia t-shirt. Are these things? And they bust them and they were holding placards saying that, yes, I'm a beneficiary. I didn't have to pay tuition. So we are here to lobby our friends. Like these are, is the registration process not supposed to be? I mean, of course, we know it's political, but is this overt campaigning on like, an, a place where people are registering? Is it like something we should be condoning? Because I will send you the link. I spent almost 40 minutes watching the entire report when these group of so-called free SHS
Right.
graduate association were wearing MPP t-shirt, Baumia on front, saying that we are defending the free SHS policy, vote for your future, where they've been brought on site holding placards with the intention of campaigning and dissuading. So these are the issues. They are very impressionable. The younger ones, oh, you can buy them easy. So for me, I'm not even, and I don't think, and the younger generation, I'm sorry to say, they are not rigorous. They don't read. I'm sorry. Ghana produces, educated literates, people who can only read and write. None of them are looking at sector reports. None of them are looking at these economic policies. Their parents are the ones who are going to complain. But somebody who just turned 18, I have a niece in my house who turned 18. She has an auntie in Canada and two uncles in America. She has an iPad. Oh, please. My
So
niece has not experienced what hardship is. And she's about to finish SHS. She has an iPad, she has AirPods, she has the latest phone. And you think somebody like that is going to vote based on economic issues? No. And so I agree with you, my honorable Agana, 100%. They are easily fooled. And if they should give them little things, they are voting this way because they are caught up in a fancy world. The generation, we're in a microwave generation. Everything is instant likes, instant success, instant wealth. And so because everything about their mindset is instant, they don't understand the importance of process, of building, of character. And so the people who are turning 18 are not going to analyze issues. They're going to go with the most chanting slogan, just like those PSHS graduates are wearing a t-shirt because they've been given some money to be there, to be campaigning on an election registration funds.
well, I mean, talking about the ones that were paraded with the T-shirts, they may have been real MPP supporters, right? I mean, we're not dismissing the fact that there are 18-year-olds out there who are largely influenced by their parents and so have become members of either political parties. And so, I mean, you're not going to run out of 18-year-olds to wear T-shirts and then announce that they are ex or graduates of the free SHS and trying to recruit new members. So that, but yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. It's I don't know what the strategy would be for either political party to attract young voters, but I would have imagined that having experienced the hardship under this government, younger folks would rather vote for the NDC. But
have they really experienced hardship? They under the no,
okay, so that's why you disagree that they haven't really experienced hardship. Okay,
yes, they have not, because at 18 you're not working, you're not doing anything. I have one in my house. How she blows money off like something. Her uncles are always sending her money for her age. If I had the kind of resources my niece had, I'll be running to who work in the White House. I will be so focused. But she, are they are under the
don't throw your news under the bus though.
I'm not throwing her under the bus. I have her and a couple of them in my family. And so when I talk to them, I just had another she's my cousin, but she's younger, 18. Just sending me a message about auntie. Like the things they ask for are not even like where their mind is. And for me, that is one of the things that scares me about even having my own child, because they are in I feel they are so isolated from the reality. They are insulated from the reality because of, social media and all these things, and the belief that, maybe if I trend and I become famous on social media, I'll make this money and blah, blah. So they are not really looking at issues. And because right now, my brothers, we need to vote for our future. And I don't think that most people think about that. I always say that Ghana has the Esau effect or the Esau complex. Now we sell our birthright for the future. And so for the 18, I don't have too much hope in them, because they are being taken care of by people like us, and we are the ones who suffer, but we want to make their life quite easier. So I don't think they understand the reality of what's going on in Ghana. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I mean, still sticking to the issue of the
can I come in real quick?
Yes.
So to Zita's point, I actually feel because people are taking care of them, so they may try to align, try to listen to the politics, right? Because it's like, if I'm taking care of you and you're trying to tell me you're going to vote, and probably that's where I get my my source of income, that's not good. So I feel that, still there will be a large majority of Ghanaian youth that vote based on what the family is saying, right? But I mean, one thing, Agana, you mentioned that it's got me thinking is the effects of social media. And for a while now, I've been asking myself, why is this crop of politicians too corrupt, right? Why are they stealing in billions, right? You hear the corruption is in billions. SML, they paid them 1 billion. In Japan, they are stealing the whole royalty. I'm like, why do you want to steal so much? And so what you actually said got me thinking that because we are in the social media world, right? So now, previously, if the politician, okay, I want to steal money to buy just a car, a Toyota. But now, because we are in the social media world, what people see, because we are influenced by, everywhere, America, everywhere. So now the politician will be like, I just don't want a Toyota. I want to steal enough to buy a Range Rover, right? So probably, maybe there's an analysis there, and I have to look at it, some research there. But probably social media is also having an impact on how much African politicians are stealing, if not the whole world, because the amount of corruption is too much, and probably will be a result of social media.
Yeah, but I mean, so far, I think the NDC overall has been vigilant enough. In the past, we've had reason to complain that they really need to keep their eyes open, given that Reagan doesn't only happen on the election day; it can happen long before the election, and the registration process is one of those periods or occasions that rigging can happen. And I mean, let's just stay on this for a minute and let me play something Hobson Adoye said recently about influencing elections. And
I see who 3 days to election, you got to dynamite got to because of in some make a draw. Therefore, more two more to go. Election, the Omudeka goes on and go conquer and now be a Johnny Cookroom.
To say
2016
got to dynamite. Na who as voters.
That's right. 2016, who said the voter turnout in voter region reduce
Yeah, 2016.
Me to maba I want to my way yada me two car. And I'm quite Timishia regional secretary of Pando. Nti na bobe 2:30. And I'm so on send a message across.
Okay.
Say omoma yen figures. Total number of voters in the register. As at that time 2:30 no di pass na to aba. Results na never na am catch chance ya win elections. Because maybe we have 500.
Yeah.
Na di pa 170 at aba. As at 2:30 p.m. Baby or number 350, maybe a nipa 95 and aba any other. So I told him, say,
yeah, read and also the World Bank of
that's right.
Yeah.
Typical chance ya when it was how. And I'm say, aggression about own.
Would you say that dynamite and I'm between Subom?
Whatever I mean, Kasa we read.
Oh, Kasa,
yeah, they have a front door super.
Strategy upon strategy. Oh, I'm politics. Well, politics is not about school. I remember politics and about PhD or strategy. What is strategy?
MPP, who is doctor?
Yeah,
who is professor? Gaza, you
feel in MPP.
We do not go professor grown, you know.
Yeah.
What do you say? Yakoye. Aba a yaba. Nase, Okokotna. Baby na afi look
well Hobson Adoye has been doing a lot of talking. I mean, is this an outlaw's enthusiasm? Is he exhibiting the enthusiasm of someone who has been outlawed from his own camp? I mean, but he put it out there. He explained how they were able to rig an election without tampering with votes specifically, right? And again, I always go back to what happened in the Volta region during the registration exercise of prior to the 2020 elections. The fact that while others were gaining hundreds of thousands of new voters, the Volta region only gained 500 new voters, 500, right? Comparable regions were gaining over 100 and something thousand voters. Not even the Volta region didn't gain 1,000 voters. What it means is that between 2016 and 2020, the number of kids that were moving from, the lower teen years into upper teens and becoming eligible voters were only 500 for 4 years. I mean, that's insane. So this is, and that's one of the events. That's where the rigging takes place even before the elections, because they are losing over 100,000 voters. And given the fact that the NDC typically, again, I always reference 2008, where NDC won the election by 40,000 votes in the second round. And so if you are losing this amount of electorates through various voter suppression tactics, either during the registration process or even on the day of election, where people like Adoye can conduct themselves in this way to prevent people from going out to vote, then effectively you are giving away the elections. So again, NDC has to be very vigilant at every stage of the electoral process. And the electoral process doesn't begin on election day. There are so many steps in the process. It's a process. It's not an end state. That's what people have to understand. All right. So let's move on to our next topic.
I agree. Yes. But last week we talked about it. Hobson Adoye, is it, trying to bite the finger that once fed him, or now he's just reflecting and being honest with us. And I said it's both. And it's good to be hearing these internal strategies to voter suppression from the MPP camp. So like you rightly said, NDC need to keep their eyes on the ground. NDC has more stakes, but of course, all other contenders in this race need to be extremely vigilant and make sure that these depositions of dynamite is not reoccurring in the 2024 elections to suppress people from coming out because they feel their life is under threat.
Yeah, I mean, that is quite extreme. Like to even to detonate dynamites to scare people away from going out to vote. That's extreme. But there are even more subtle ways of doing it, where they deploy military people under the guise of providing security, but the actual effect is that they are really scaring people from going out to vote. So
you think that is extreme when people are stealing billions, people are taking millions? I mean, the extreme because Agana, what is at stake is enticing. So they would do anything to cling on to power. And that's why they're leveraging all these very extreme measures that is beyond our imagination, right? Because what they are likely to gain from getting into power, and we are seeing it, 11 million, 58 million. And Nee rightly said, this administration has made people so rich or wealthy, they will never, their generations will never have to ever struggle again. So it's what is at stake. That's why they said power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. They know what is at stake and they will do anything to grab that power. So we need to let this be a cautionary tale for all of us to be extremely vigilant, because people will do anything, go to any lengths to the point of, dropping dynamite to threaten people not to vote. That's serious.
And also with the voter region thing, right? What I feel was that already the excitement to vote for NDC around that time was low, right? Because you took all the big developmental projects to Ashanti region. You left your strong base and you went and gave them all the big projects. So if I'm a voter, a member of the voter region, I'll be like, you don't respect me. You're taking my vote for granted. And that's what happened. In addition to that, you have people bringing dynamite. I'm not going out to vote. So it should serve as a lesson to the NDC to give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. If these people have supported you, support them back. And that's all they want. And so that when there's dynamite, they will still say, okay, I'm going out to vote for you, even though there's dynamite. So they have to learn.
Okay. All right. Let's shift to Baumia. But before we say anything substantive, I thought I had a video of when he finally got delivered his steer. The steering wheel that he asked for. It was eventually delivered to him. I don't think I have the video here, but I'm sure you guys may have seen it somewhere in the social media where, I don't know if Baumia used to be like a serious character. When he appeared very serious. But these days he doubles into all kinds of jokes. I mean, that whole thing was comical. I don't know what he sought to achieve by doing that. But again, he's still on the promising spree. He's running a promising mill. He's churning out a lot of promises all over the place. But as someone whose party is still in power, does he have any right to actually still go out there and mount platforms and continue to give promises? I mean, we'll talk about promises more broadly. I have specific things that he has promised in recent time. But let's listen to one of them. The one that he was promising about
tax-free churches.
Churches, yes. Okay, I don't have the. I think I didn't upload it, but we can go with it because you guys saw it. He said they were no longer going to tax churches, right? I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the story, but there's a video of him saying that he thinks that churches should rather be rewarded in a way rather than being taxed. Now, in my opinion, I'm not even going to go into the idea of taxing, whether to tax churches or not, but giving promises is something that I'm particularly concerned about. But anyway, whichever direction that you guys want to go with, you can treat it however you want. I'm on the fence with respect to taxing churches.
Okay, so this is what I have to say, right? And again, I'm a Twitter person, so sometimes I read a tweet on Twitter and I like it so much. So this is one from, I don't know this person, but the name is Justice Remsai. I think that person is a lawyer.
Yeah, I think it's a lawyer in.
Yeah,
He's quite popular on social media.
I see. Yeah, yeah. He said you are taking old and sick people. You are taking old and sick people's pension from them, leaving them to die in pain, agony, and misery. You are taxing small indigenous businesses into irrecoverable debt and collapses. You are taxing multinationals away from investing in or creating jobs in the country. You're extorting people's savings and investment in the name of haircuts. You are still collecting COVID-19 recovery levy. You are taxing on transfer of money from one medium to the other, e-levy. But you use tax. He said, yet see what you are saying here. So what I'm trying to say is, we all know the church does a great job in our society. But what annoys me with what Baumia is doing is playing the church card, and I don't like it. We gave you the mandate to come and fix the problems with the economy, not to be a second level pastor. That is not your job. I don't see Baumia as the leader of the religious freedom or religious whatever. We gave him a job as an economic guy to come and solve our problem. He has no business going to churches, preaching and whatever. Fix our problem. The dollar is The dollar is 15 cedis. Fix it. Petrol. You said gold for oil. Now we are buying petrol at 15 Ghana cedis per liter. That is what I want. Because he cannot do that, he's just trying to hide away and cover it with all these political gimmicks, and it really annoys me. So he should stop what he's doing.
Yeah. So Zita, is he engaging in political grifting here? By going to say things that he thinks a certain group might be excited about?
You see, you guys need to understand that politics and religion going hand in hand in Ghana. Religious circles hold a considerable influence on people. Apart from, even like they say, most wives respect their pastors and their daddy geos more than their husbands, so people understand. Yeah,
they call them daddies.
Call them daddies. Meanwhile, when they're in the bedroom with their husband, they'll be called, hey, they'll be tossing you here and there. But when it comes to their spiritual fathers, they'll be bowing down. My point is, Baumia understands the significance of the power that religious leaders and religion has over the Ghanaian population. But he will be unsuccessful because his record has been terrible. However, when it comes to the issue of taxing churches, if I ever rise into any political office, churches will be the first group of people I would tax, mainly because they have hidden under this umbrella of non-profit agencies, and they are profit generating agencies. These people collect money and the pastors use these money and he talked about schools. Baumia is surprising me. Look at Central University. Look at all these Pentecost University. They have the highest tuition rates. They are not doing us a favor. In North America, I am surrounded, where I live, I'm surrounded by 10 churches. When I go out, all the churches, they are no longer churches. They are a place for what? Welfare. They are place for a soup kitchen. They are place where homeless people can go there and we donate our clothes, community health centers, and I've made such donations in Canada specifically. So those are the jobs that the churches here do. You know, they may have a church service on Sunday, but during the week on Tuesday, they have a soup kitchen. You're homeless, you can go in there, get some food. We donate our clothes, you can get some, something to keep you warm. Ghana churches are vampires. Ghana churches operate based on the colonial legacy of exploitation. The colonial masters who brought us the religion exploited us, and it is the same formula our local pastors are using. So they must be taxed because they collect money in the name of offertory and seed sowing, and they use that to invest into businesses to enrich themselves. They need to be taxed. So I don't know why Bawumia, as an economist, I mean, he's lost it. Talking about we should give them aid. What aid do they need? These people collect money. You and I can have a business idea, but nobody's going to give us free money. If we even do GoFundMe, people will not support. But these churches every Sunday take offertory, take tithes, do special seed sowing. They build schools that the average Ghanaian and even their members cannot afford. How many members in ICGC can go to Central University and afford it? The tuition is a lot, and they have all these, they'll be selling books. It's a business. Churches in Ghana are operating on a business, strategy, and they need to be taxed. So Baumia has lost it. The political gimmick will not work, and his credibility as an economist is beginning to be questionable from my perspective. So I believe that he's only pandering to the religious and Christian corridors to win votes, and it will work.
Yeah.
Churches need to be taxed because they are operating a business. They are not doing any welfare. I mean, they make a few donations here and there to prisons and here and there. But when you look at the amount of money and profits they generate from their schools, from the books they sell, from, all these other seminars they do, it's a profit, it's a business and a money-making venture, and they need to be taxed. Or assign specific welfare duties. That for you to be in good standing as a church, maybe for a year you need to do this and that, community service initiatives for you to meet a certain threshold, even if they are not taxed. But churches need to be forced to give something back to the society that can build the society in Ghana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, even with taxation, usually you file tax returns, right? So, for instance, if churches were taxed, what will happen is that they would file tax returns, and then if it's determined that the amount of revenue or amount that they brought in is in proportion with how much they spent on charitable activities, then effectively they're not going to pay tax. So you only tax profits, something that emerges after. If there was anything left and it wasn't spent, then it can be taxed to be considered as income. So, in fact, the idea of taxing churches may not be that bad, given the fact that the churches that we have today are no longer doing the things that churches have traditionally been known to do. Most of us went to Catholic schools. I went to Catholic schools my entire education. And so I benefited from some of the, I don't know what you call it, charity, because if you want to go into the neo-colonial stuff and think about how much was taken from Africans, and then compared to how much was given to us by way of schools, it was just a token. So now on a second thought, I'm kind of still torn as to whether I should describe these schools that we benefited from as charity that was done by these churches. How much did we lose by their presence in Africa?
Yeah, they were not charity. They were not charity. There's a documentary on Netflix called Queen Njinga, and it's about an Angolan queen who rose to become king, and her struggles with the slave trade and the slave market. And the story is so compelling, and they have historians from different universities in Brazil and Colombia, all these other places where freed slaves were, and they talked about the millions that slave trade gave the church. They talked about the role of the church and how even Africa's human capital minus the natural resources culminated in over 3 million in the 1800s, not now. Yes. So we need to go. That's why I'm always passionate. I always think that what we are doing is we are just replicating the exploitative nature of the colonial agenda. And that's what the African pastors are doing. They are enriching themselves. They live in Trasaco. Their children are in Harvard. They are not on scholarship. Their children are in Harvard. They have mansions here in America, in the UK. Their children are going to Oxford. They're doing medical schools and all that, law. And whose money is paying for it? So churches need to be taxed. I don't even want to hear. Baumia is even currently pissing me off with giving them incentive. What incentive do they need again? They need to be taxed, and they need to give them a list of community service initiatives that they must invest in. If churches were doing donations in terms of incubation, we won't have incubators, we won't have children dying. Why are they not doing some of these things? So please, Baumia should get it right. As an economist, like you're saying, here we file for tax. If you're operating as a non-profit, you will do, and anything left your tax on it. But even if they initiate that in Ghana, believe you me, these churches are making massive profits, because the entire lifestyle of certain families in Ghana is just rooted in what? The legacy of churches. These pastors live large. How did they fund all their businesses, and some of them were sitting on banks? Come on, as whatever. How do they call them, directors on different bank committees or whatever, making decisions when they built their entire wealth on free money, free donation, all in the name of Jesus. Come on.
Yeah, religion is a very sensitive matter in Ghana, and when you criticize the church, even on good grounds, the tendency for you to be labeled as and all sorts of names, including Antichrist, is very high, and you can incur the displeasure of your own family members. So it's a very touchy issue to talk about. But the facts are the facts. I mean, again, I always say I go to church. I'm a practicing Catholic. I'm a lector in church. I will go to church tomorrow, but I don't. It doesn't stop me from criticizing what I think is wrong with the church. So again, but with respect to Baumia has become a professional or a certified political grifter, somebody who will pander to all kinds of groups just because he thinks there's some votes to get from there. And in this video, that's exactly what he was doing. It wasn't based on any principled place of taxation. It was essentially trying to say things to a group of people that he felt would really attract them. And he's on a spree. And there's a couple of headlines that I want us to take a look at. Right, I'm looking at one right now. And Baumia says, and these are very recent, that I'll establish a minerals development bank if elected president. This is about 3 days ago headline. There was one that somebody sent me about a week ago. Baumia promises 100% Ghanaian ownership of natural resources if elected president. And the list goes on. These are fresh from the oven, right? These are not old promises. And we know Baumia as somebody who promised his way to the presidency. And even in government, he's still promising. I mean, what do you make of this whole idea of establishing a minerals development bank? Is it not this government that collapsed a record number of banks in this country? So what is he talking about? Maybe you are actuarial scientist, so maybe you can think about this and explain it better for us, including the idea that he will make sure that we get 100% of our mineral benefits.
Yeah. For me, anytime I listen to Baumia, I'm like, just disappointment. I'm like, this guy has just wasted everything God gave to him. He's now, just saying things that are not what he's supposed to do. Again, what Baumia is supposed to do is to structure the economy that we will be in a better place. And so far, the evidence is that he's not done that. So what I see him doing right now is he probably has a list of ideas in his campaign team. They have a list of ideas, and they're just trying the one that will stick.
Oh,
Today
yeah.
he says,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's it's not like a planting. I just want to see which one will make the biggest part. Yes, I feel that's what he's doing. He's going through the list and see
Yes.
which one that will work. There's no strategy. There's no plan. There's no plan. Like I just don't. And again, I say it's with disappointment when I listen to that guy. I'm like, I had so much trust. I had so much belief in him, and now I just look at him. I'm like, just a waste of energy. All is saying that mineral thing. I think he was just the bank, the mineral bank.
Yeah.
He's just trying to say something to counter the NDC's Women National Bank. That's all he wants to
Oh,
do.
I see. I
Oh
didn't even
yes, yeah. It's like okay, you said something which is back from data and research. So let me also say something. I'll implement what minerals bank.
But you're in
You
government.
yeah, you're in government, and this government have been worse when it comes to mineral stuff. You, you 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 yes, you look at what they were trying to do with the Japan, trying to mortgage our mineral revenues away for life, for not forever, not for life. So because that transcends generations forever. The Galamsey issue, they made it worse. Now our water body and other natural resources will suffer. So they've not done any development when it comes to uh, protecting the revenues that comes from all these natural resources. It's just again sharing the resources for themselves. How can you have a forest reserve in the will of somebody like the guy who died?
Yes,
Uh,
John.
yes, John, a forest reserve in somebody's will.
Yeah.
So these guys, you believe them at your own risk. It's just that I'm just saying to see. He mentioned the mineral thing yesterday, and he also mentioned the not taxing the church thing, trying to cause some kind of. I
Yeah.
don't trust that
Yeah,
guy.
so the minerals thing, there are actually two promises. One is the establishment of the bank, and the other one is that he promises 100% ownership of natural resources if elected.
Of
So
course,
he says all the concessions is good. I mean, no more concessions to other.
he wasn't him the vice president where we got the lithium deal. What percentage did we get?
Yeah.
Was he not part of the meetings? So you listen to this guy, you're like, your track record don't show any of this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
playing a seriously dirty game, and it's making me even more angry at him because we want you to solve a particular issue. You've not done that. Go around doing all this and giving us all this uh, empty promises.
Yeah. Yeah, Zita, does Baumia want that? It appears he wants us to judge his words as if they were acts, they were real acts rather than just words.
I mean, they're just words, and I agree that maybe because Professor Nana Jane talked about, a women's bank, and that is rooted in existing data. Like I said the previous time, when you look at the Ghana Living Standard Survey 2019, women are income contributing family members compared to men over 50%, while men, even though women are less educated than men in Ghana, more women are income contributing earners compared to men, because women dominate the informal sector, and women tend to contribute towards the household. And so Professor Nane's campaign promise is based on facts. Now this opens an interesting path for me, because I actually did my master's research on the extractive sector, and this is how I know Baumia is a joke. Because when you look at the Ghana Mining Act, which leases our mining reserves to foreign companies for 30 years, part of the rules indicates that these foreign companies, when they do the extraction, 90% of what they get is in foreign reserves. 10% is kept in the Bank of Ghana. We don't need any minerals bank. The 10% that is kept in Bank of Ghana is for what? Service and equipment. So he needs to be talking about revising the Mining Act, not even a bank, because the current Mining Act doesn't favor Ghana. How are we leasing our foreign reserves to these mining companies for 30 years? And in that agreement, and I encourage everybody to go read it. I mean, the last time I read the Mining Act is in 2013 when I was doing my master's thesis, but I'm sure it hasn't changed. because everything they get is in foreign reserves from these mining companies. They take it back to their country. 10% is only reserved in the Bank of Ghana. And the reason why it's reserved is to what? Service equipment and to fix mining equipment. That is what we need. We need a change of that mining act to favor us. Why are foreign people coming to our country? And that raises, and in my thesis, I talked about the environmental issues, cyanide, polluting water bodies, drilling, and these heavy drilling leads to respiratory, because when you are drilling, particulate matter gets into the air and people breathe it and it leads to respiratory problems. So people who are in mining areas tend to have health issues. Where are the corporate social responsibilities that the United Nations aligned? But they can't do it because when we do, they say Ghana is not an investorly friendly country. These are the rules we need to tighten, because we, as if an African organization, you can't come and do that here. You can't come and do that in America or Canada. But why are they in our countries taking our resources when the laws doesn't favor? So this is how I know, as a learned person, know that Bawumia is a joke. He hasn't read the Mining Act to look at how the Mining Act doesn't favor us, and he's busy talking about a mining bank. We don't need that, because currently only 10% of the proceeds that are gotten from mining in Ghana is in the Bank of Ghana, and that is supposed to service what? Equipment. The rest, the foreigners take it into their country. That is what he needs to be focusing on, and that is why some of us are not impressed, because we know these details. So again, he's only talking, and his promises, and it's like Nee said, it's a trend with the MPP. I don't know if it's they eat fufu and they sleep and they get up and they say one this, one that. Because their promises are not rooted in any data. It's not data driven or evidence driven. It's like little kids who go to bed and wake up and I want to be how many people wanted to be lawyers and doctors? But reality taught us 30 years in, some of the friends who know the owners, they are not. Let us be realistic. I need Bawumia to go back to the drawing board, really look at the Mining Act before promising us, because that is a delusional idea that will not, it's not even important in the grand scheme of things. Because what is the importance of that bank? When our laws haven't changed, the bank will not be able to be effective. Our Mining Act must change first to favor us as a country, to get these foreign people to keep a lot of their reserve in the country. Then we can start talking about a mining bank.
Yeah. Well, again, a certified political grifter who is throwing everything, including the kitchen sink. I mean, there's no other way to describe him. Anyway, so I mean, we've dealt with a lot of serious issues here. I don't think time will permit us to go into the Cecilia Dapa case. I mean, it requires a little bit of nuance, and I mean, we'll get into it next week. Let's prepare fully for that. I mean, it's an ongoing issue, multi-layered issue of corruption. It has so many dimensions that we need to probably give it a lot more time. But I mean, there's something more comical. I don't know if we'll call it comical, but going back to the gift that keeps on giving, Hobson Adoye, he said something interesting here. I mean, let's look at it and talk about it.
What move, Mano?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Mano. Now say you Jubilee House at the chair, but kids. A software or multi be my software. Allah ya money be.
Software.
Me na make a joke. Now you must software use 2 motorcades, 3 motorcades in a day. A software mode police light as so light to the name Groma. Do you know? MPP Mrantia money nama police light is so do you know?
Hey.
Obia citizens in will be or Chrome how. And the power now motor so now Muslim the victimizing me. More life. I like to maintain actual letter come police or here motorcade. What move, Mano?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Mano. Now say you Jubilee House at the chair motorcade. A software or multi be my software. Allah ya money be.
Software.
Me na make a joke. Now you must software use 2 motorcades, 3 motorcades in a day. Asofo omode police light esisi omo light so di nam kroma. Do you know? MPP mrantia omo ne nam police light esisi omo ka so. Do you know?
Hey.
Obi anya citizens in obi o krom ha wo. Ana power na mote so na mo se mo di victimize me no.
Okay. So what do you guys think about this whole thing about motorcade? I mean, it got me a little bit confused. I didn't understand what was going on there with what Hobson was saying. I don't know. Are you guys familiar with this?
I'm so lost. I think Hobson Adoye is, he's going for the MPP guns blazing. Like it's just, biting the fingers that once fed him. And I don't understand the whole concept of the motorcade. But
Yeah. Okay. What? Apparently, the office of the president can issue. I don't know if it's some license for people to put the police lights and sirens on their vehicles, and then so that they can plow through traffic without any hindrance. So he says he has one on his car. I actually didn't start it from where it started, but he has one on his car. And what prompted him to say this was that the MP people are trying to find dirt on him, that Gabi is, engaged in some machinations to find faults with him, which would be a basis for his arrest. And then that they couldn't find anything. But the only thing is that he has one of those police-like sirens on his car that he can go through traffic without any hindrance. And that was the only thing that he then said, Gabi then said they should use to arrest him. So that's how it then goes into how I think the host expressed shock that actually exists. And then he says, he goes on and talks about how they're sharing them to pastors and other NDC sympathizers. So apparently people can get, police sirens and run through traffic like they are, either in a presidential motorcade or they're in the police or anything like that. It's comical, but it's also interesting to learn that this is happening. I don't know.
Then I need one. I need one at this point because currently I'm being celebrated as a celebrity in Ghana. And one of my ardent followers said, Dr. Zida, the day you come to Ghana, make sure we're going to have dedicated dancers and a motorcade to take you to your destination because you have changed a wave in Ghana. And so I would appeal to get one of those motorcade to help make my movement in Ghana easier because the traffic in Accra can be brutal. But that's on the lighter side, but this again emphasizes how we don't have strong institutions and how one of the lawyers being interviewed on the Cecilia that package said, no, it was the journalist that said something that was important, and I think we need to emphasize the law does not treat all of us the same way. Some people, get to benefit things that some of us will not benefit simply because they are perceived differently and they rank higher when it comes to their political standing. So it's unfortunate, but it shows that we do not have independent institutions in Ghana and that people and pastors can easily have access to motorcades to maneuver and swift through traffic easily. Knowing how Ghana traffic is, but again, I don't want to say it's in Ghana alone. My brother used to be a veteran, used to be in the military in the States, and I say this, sometimes they also get the disability tag to put on their car to pack. So just saying.
Yeah. Some people are skipping the traffic in Accra. It's.
If I go to Ghana, I see them or I see them all the time. You be in traffic and they'll just turn it out and just pass you by. But it's all right. Sometimes, it's the benefit of all that. So I don't have a problem with that. Just that it's just unfortunate we don't have strong institutions that can help, decide certain things like that. And also, I'm not surprised why some of these pastors have been quiet and stuff like that because we know how vindictive this government is. If you speak against it, they'll take away your light from you. You have to stay in traffic, so they are quiet.
Yeah. Anyway, that was quite interesting to me. I figured we just talk about it.
No, it's not interesting. It is showing you the micro level corruption, and so it's the microcosm of the country we live in, and the broader picture of what happens in the top.
They issued out, motorcades in the office of the president. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, but as usual, we have to draw the curtains. It's been a lively conversation. Again, we promise you a very interactive, objective analysis of the political, very topical and serious political happenings in our dear country. And then we hope that you'll be able to join us again come this time next week. And I'm always grateful to my, very erudite panelists, Dr. Nee and Dr. Zita. Once again,
Zitarian.
I swear. Listen, all the big men in Ghana on my neck. They said the girls. The motto is we no grief for nobody 2024. Everybody I'm going to do like it's crazy, but it's a wonderful time to be alive. And I hope that in as much as I'm not married and I don't have a child, at least someday when I'm gone, I know that I sparked an interesting movement.
Inspired the movement.
Oh yes, and we are looking forward to going to Ghana to have our first conference sometime next year. And I'm
first conference of what?
For women and Zitarian conference, please.
Oh really?
Please. I would advertise when the time is due. Please, the men, we need you to donate, but don't show up because it's a
No. I mean, whatever you're doing is really good. Anything that will help promote women and encourage women to, take up more education and stuff like that. Sometimes a lot of our women in our communities, they find themselves in disadvantaged positions that do not make them leave certain unpleasant situations. So one way to break that is through education and also encouragement. So yeah, what you're doing is very good.
You see, you are the men we need, but you be afraid to be swallowed on social media, so you won't show up. Apparently, the wife of their Santihini lady, Julia, is now a Zitarian.
Hey.
She gave a speech about meeting the king when she was the corporate officer, lawyer, for legal affairs officer for the Echo Bank, I think. And so that is how they met. So she's being tagged as a Zitarian because I said higher education will predispose you to a higher caliber of man. It's all about proximity.
I see.
Everybody like Dr. Zita has been vindicated. So I'm waiting for my king. So to all the kings in Ghana, I'm very single. Ochihene, I'm willing to be a second wife. Y'all, anyway, it's good to be here. Agana, thank you for allowing us have fun as we wrap up the show.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Well, all right. Zitarians. I consider myself a feminist, so I may as well be a Zitarian too.
You might as well, and you would end up marrying. Listen, watch out for your wives, because I'm converting all your wives to become Zitarians. Very soon they'll be wearing a T-shirt, and you'll be looking at them like, everybody's a Zitarian. Everybody's a Zitarian. It's all about women empowerment and just making sure that we have positive representation. We've seen enough of the, selling the body, the curviness. We want to see something else. I want the women to sell their intelligence, not their bodies. So I'm pretty much excited.
All right. Well,
yeah, I'll tell Baumia to give you a motorcade light.
Yeah. Very soon. You're going to hear.
Very soon.
You're going to hear Baumia catering to the Zitarians.
Actually, a few people have reached out to me to make a political statement as to who people should be voting for because they believe the Zitarians are taking.
Don't worry. Very soon you're going to get a message from Baumia. He's going to call you.
I will.
Anyway, all right, guys. Enjoy.
Bye.
And then let's meet again next week. All right. Bye.